1 Thessalonians Chapter 2, through the Bible. Part 2. For our exhortation was not of deceit, nor of uncleanness, nor in guile. 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 3. Deceit means error. The content of Paul's exhortation was not adulterated. Paul did not water down the gospel. He never changed it to suit different groups. One of the things that disturbs me about some ministers is that they give a good, clear-cut gospel message in one place. But then they show up in another place where they need to be equally clear in giving out the gospel, and they are fuzzy. This was not true of the Apostle Paul. His exhortation was not of deceit. Uncleanness means sensuality. Paul was not motivated by greed. He didn't come to Thessalonica for the offering he would get or for the notoriety he would gain. He wasn't seeking to be ministered to personally, but he came with pure motives. There was no uncleanness in that sense. Nor in guile, he did not use wrong methods with them. He did not lower his standards to accommodate the prejudices and passions of the old nature. He did not use an appeal to the sinful flesh. Many of us can learn a lesson from the Apostle Paul at this point. I once knew a minister who had been a great preacher. But I lost much respect for this man because he went back to a church which he had formerly pastored, knowing that there was criticism of the present pastor. He played upon that criticism and encouraged it. Paul would never have done a thing like that. He didn't bring the gospel to people in any form of guile at all. Everyone who teaches the word of God needs to ask himself whether he is doing it with any deceit or uncleanness or guile. We need to be honest with ourselves. We need to check our own motives. Do we teach in order to win friends and influence people? Or are we honestly trying to give out the word of God? My friend, I must confess that I have made many mistakes. I have failed the Lord so many times that it is amazing that He doesn't throw me overboard. If I were God, I would have been disgusted with Vernon McGee long ago. But I promised the Lord when I entered the ministry that I wouldn't pull any punches. Honestly, I expected to get into real trouble, but the Lord has been good to me. I think He knew that I would start running if there were an occasion for it. I am grateful that I can look up to the Lord right now and say, Lord, I've made a lot of mistakes and I have failed you, but I have given out your word the best I know how. If I could give it better, I would, but I'm doing the best that I possibly can by your grace. I love this passage. Paul could tell the Thessalonians, when I came to you, I want you to know that I had no ulterior motives. I didn't come for your offering. I didn't come in order to shear your sheep. I came to give you the gospel and then to build you up in the faith. That was my motive. With that kind of motive, a person is really sailing on a marvelous sea. There may be storms, but the Lord will bring His servant through. But as we were allowed of God to be put in trust with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God, which trieth our hearts. 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 4. The word allowed means to be tested or approved. Paul was saying that he was no novice. He was not a man-pleaser, nor had he ever sought popularity. He wasn't trying to make a name for himself. When Paul preached, he was not preaching to find out what men would think of him, but what God would think of him. Paul used the blue litmus paper of God to put down in his life, and it stood the test. He never used any low or tricky methods. For neither at any time used we flattering words, as ye know, nor a cloak of covetousness. God is witness. 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 5. Paul is speaking pretty frankly. He says that he never came into their midst to flatter anyone. He never played up to the rich people in the congregation. He didn't try to butter up anyone. Flattery disarms us. We really never know what to say. When people criticize me, I know what to say, but I never know what to say when someone flatters me. It disarms a person. In Twelfth Night, Shakespeare has his clowns say, "Marry, sir, they praise me and make an ass of me. Now my foes tell me plainly I am an ass. So that by my foes, sir, I profit in the knowledge of myself, and by my friends I am abused." Our friends are probably more dangerous at times than our enemies. Paul never used flattery. There is a group of wealthy laymen across this country who are literally owned by the people who flatter them. If a Christian work or program doesn't butter them up, they are not the least bit interested in helping that program financially. God pity the church or the work that must depend on men who require flattery and compliments before they will give their support to the work. I think this is one of the curses in the Christian church today. Paul did not use a cloak of covetousness. I really don't think that money is the sin of the ministry. I have never felt that money was a great temptation for the men whom I know in the ministry. But the cloak of covetousness is a cloak of many colors. There are men who covet honor and fame and position. We need to search our hearts in order to uncover any covetousness there. Many colleges have attempted to buy men by giving them honorary doctoral degrees. They have been given out by the score. The college then hopes for a donation or some other type of support. That is one reason it would be well if all doctoral degrees had to be earned. Nor of men sought we glory, neither of you, nor yet of others, when we might have been burdensome as the apostles of Christ. 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 6. Paul never sought position or honors. He never received any honorary degrees. He had pure motives.